Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another Green Square Talks Battlebots podcast. So, I'm here with two of the usual co-hosts. We got Blaze and Derin both here to help analyze this episode with me. So, how's it going, both of you?
Going very well.
What about you, Blaze?
Huh? Oh, we're starting? Oh,
Yep.
fuck.
Well, an-
Uh, yeah.
well, anyway, this is our review of the 15th episode of Battlebots. We got to see the last 7 fights prior to the reveal of the top 32. Several critical matchups here, including the last battle between two alternates. The last of the hidden matchups was featured in this episode, and all this led up to a rematch from a fight that led to a lot of controversy last season, and we got to see two robots like dish it out and sell the score basically. Uh, and all that led up to the reveal of the bracket. So plan is basically we're going to go through all 7 of these fights as we usually do, and then we'll talk a little bit about the bracket. I have some questions I'll be asking about that for all 3 of us to answer that I think you all would be interested in hearing our opinions on. So, and if you want to answer those questions yourself when we get to those, you're absolutely welcome to in the comments section. Lots of you have already been sharing lots of your thoughts on this season so far and some of the matchups, and you're absolutely welcome to get in on the discussion and throw something in the comments section and all that stuff. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the first fight. But oh, before we do start about that, though, as usual, there are spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the episode yet, or at least the fights, check those out. So, now let's get to Lucky and Cobalt. Yeah, so first fight here, couldn't find many good images here, but I think these two images sum up what happened in that fight pretty well, at least. Uh, Cobalt strong 2-1 record, probably the strongest 2-1 record as of right now, in my opinion. And they're up against Lucky, who's 3-0, looking to become another undefeated 4-0 robot in here. And yeah, we'll just give the floor to Derin right now because I think these images sum up what happened in that fight pretty well.
Can someone say explosion? Because that's what this fight was. Within the first 2 seconds, I'm just reviewing the fight actually right now. Cobalt comes in, it's around to the side and just blows Lucky up the Kingdom Come. And from then on, it's just a cakewalk. They lost the side of drive immediately. Lucky, it's just the fights, and they also dislodged the battery, which created a nice smoke effect that filled the arena, very Fog of War-esque. Couple more hits, they got unlucky, and then they shut him in the corner, and Lucky just died. A very, very quick and what's the term? Decisive win. I can't remember the word. It's a statement win. Yeah, a very solid, good, quick victory, quick knockout to. It really helps Cobalt's strength of schedule, but with a quick knockout of a 3-0 robot, which is very good. A good fight. Um, I can't really say much about the seedings because I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. I don't really have an opinion on that because I don't really care. I just want the robots to
Yeah,
fight. I don't
we'll
care
talk about the
who's seeded
seedings
where.
later on. So
Yeah, but good fight, very explosive. I love the green machine. Great fight, Blaze. Take it from me.
What? Oh, God. Bananas. Uh, I was not prepared for this. I'm busy with other stuff. Anyways, this fight certainly happened. I can confirm I saw it. Trust me, it happened. Um, man, I was so excited for Lucky to actually like come out and like upset Cobalt because I thought that would be hilarious. But that is not what happened, as you can probably tell from the pictures and what Darren said. Yeah, no. Cobalt just outdrove Lucky, and are you kidding me? Um,
I guess I'll talk about the fight then, and if
no,
Blaze wants.
I'm still doing this. I'm still doing this. Sorry.
Come
Um,
on, Blaze, hurry up.
yeah, Cobalt just really just outdrove Lucky. Good job. Anyways, Green, take it away.
All right, so my takes on this.
Badass.
I saw this. I saw an outcome like this coming for this one, but I personally did not think this would be that quick of a KO and that one-sided of a fight. Because I surely thought we were going to see Lucky get a flip or two on Cobalt, and that didn't happen. Yeah, Matt made the first driving error in this one, and Dave Molds took advantage of that pretty well and got underneath the sides of Lucky and caused that explosion that was so awesome to see. And Cobalt got a few more hits, and that was it for Lucky. But yeah, this was definitely another statement victory for Cobalt, and that's why I think Cobalt's got one of if not the best 3-1 records here right now. Lucky fell to 3-1 themselves here, but both of them definitely were deserving of making the bracket as they both did. So it'll be interesting to see how well these two who come out for their first round fight, and especially how Lucky can get repaired after that fight, because they definitely had a lot of damage after that one, and as you can see by their next opponents, which we'll talk about next, Lucky's got another dangerous spinner in there. So let's talk about their next opponents. So Cobalt, I'm looking at the bracket right now. Cobalt was seeded 9 in the bracket, where they are taking on the 24 seeded Monsoon for their next matchup, the first round of the bracket. And Lucky, on the other hand, was seeded 15 in the bracket and are taking on the 18 seeded Hypershock for this one. So, what are our thoughts on those two matchups?
Well, let's see. Could I? Okay.
They are
Cobalt
certainly
Monsoon.
fights.
Derin, go right ahead.
There and go.
Cobalt Monsoon. Cobalt's probably gonna win because it's Cobalt and it's probably gonna get under and punt Monsoon into the fucking roof. Lucky Hypershock. Hypershock's probably gonna win that one. I just think they have the better weaponry and maneuverability. That's what I think's gonna happen.
You got anything else to say, Blaze, or should I share my picks?
Oh yeah. Can I just say who I think's gonna win, or
Go for it. I don't care
okay?
if you explain it or not.
All right. Hypershock's gonna beat Lucky probably because I think Hypershock will win the ground game. And hear me out. Monsoon beats Cobalt because Monsoon's the better British bird.
All right, so my takes on this, I'm going to start with Lucky and Hypershock. I have Hypershock winning that one. I think I think Hypershock's speed and Will Bale's driving is going to propel them to victory in that one, but can't underestimate Matt's driving as well, because he's done a great job of driving Lucky all season like he did last year, but I think Hypershock having the more damaging weapon is going to really help Hypershock in this one. And yeah. I really want to see a deep run from Lucky, because, like, it's amazing that we've seen so much improvement from Lucky between this season and last season compared to the first few seasons that Lucky was in Battlebots. And I think Lucky's in due for a deep run, but sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to wait another season, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting to see how well they do in this fight with Hypershock right there. I'd agree with, I think it was Derin who said this, where I think Hypershock has the better ground game in this one. So, and then Cobalt and Monsoon, that's going to be a good fight. We got two of the most brutal vertical spinners in the entire competition clashing against each other, and I think Cobalt's going to win this one, but that's one that where I think Monsoon absolutely has a good shot at it. I think whoever wins this one is going to be whoever gets underneath the opponent and manages to cripple the other's ground game and starts dishing out the damaging blows first between them. Regardless of who wins this, I think that one's going to end in a knockout. I'm leaning towards Cobalt on that one, and just because I think Cobalt, I would probably lean towards Cobalt winning the ground game early on in that match, but that seriously could go either way. So yeah, anything else, or should we move on to fight number 2? Okay, this fight. So we got a flipper showdown between these two robots. Banshee and Blip, both of them in must-win situations because they're both sitting at 1-2 right now. Banshee, which is that lone win over Valkyrie earlier in the season, and Blip won their third fight against Tantrum after those first two brutal losses to Endgame and Huge. So, uh, yeah, so some interesting configurations for this one, because Banshee, on one hand, went with no wedgelets for this one, just had the flipper arm for ground game, at least, which I think David Small went with for better maneuverability and control of the match. And then Blip, on the other hand, went with their fork setup, but then added like a little nose onto the edge of their flipper for this one. And it's an interesting tactic that I think Blip was like testing out or something, but yeah, I'll go ahead and hear y'all's thoughts on this one, at least, and your intel.
Blaze, go first.
No.
Alright, fine, I'll go first then. Um, this is just, first of all, that was a really suitable configuration on Blip. I don't know why they put a weird shin guard that kind of negated the whole getting up on the flipper thing on the front of Blip. No idea why they did that. I thought Aaron was smart. I don't think Banshee's flipper was operational at all during that match, which is kind of sad. So this turned into sort of a bizarre ramming fight from both of them. Occasionally, Blip got some flips in. It seemed Banshee has finally solved their drive issues. They were still driving really fast at the end of that fight, instead of all the previous ones where they lost, kind of really slowed down at the end. They actually kept working the whole time, except for their flipper not working. Yeah, pretty kind of fight, but whatever.
What you got, Blaze?
I have a theory. I wonder if the reason why they have the little piece at the top is to help with self-writing. Because last season, the last time they fought a flipper, they struggled with self-writing very, very much.
It's possible. Like,
Yeah,
I have an idea for what I think it might be, at least, but I know at least as for what Aaron Hill said when he came onto the podcast after the championship episode, that looks like they figured out like what level of speed the spinner inside a Blip at propelling the flipper there needs to be at for them to be able to self-ride perfectly. But what you're saying could be right. But keep going.
it could be. Anyways, this fight was actually like it was pretty boring to start, but then once Whip started to get flips, it became actually pretty entertaining by what other people think. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this fight is definitely pretty good, I would say. Definitely a solid like 5 out of 10.
It's fair. But yeah, I'll share my takes on this now. Personally, yeah, this was the between the fights that mattered, as for Blaze's criteria from before we started recording. This was probably my least favorite fight of the episode. As for the non-alternate matchups, because it looks like first 2.5 minutes was kind of like a driving battle between both robots preventing each other from getting underneath the other, and then we got to see Blip start getting some flips in the last 30 seconds, which was really fun to see. So my theory on what the nose is for, at least right there, you can kind of see where I'm kind of trying to go with this on the image. Basically, we see Blip getting underneath Banshee with ease right there. What I'm wondering is, could that nose right there serve a little bit like a hook, kind of catch the flipper, maybe, kind of like what you're seeing right on the
No,
image there, because you see the flipper going kind of over the top of that nose right there. But I think what Battlebots was trying to describe is I think it's kind of more to help kind of boost the power within that flipper, kind of. So I was wondering if it kind of maybe meant towards kind of helping Blip being able to get underneath and land more powerful flips or something, but like I don't know the answer for
can
sure,
I
to be honest. I think we'd probably
can I
have to
say
ask
something?
Aaron Hill or something about that. But regardless, I
I
would
think
probably say it did hurt Blip more than it helped Blip in this one for sure, just because it looked like Banshee was still able to evade Blip's flipper pretty easily in this one, and why we didn't get to see any big flips from Blip until the last 30 seconds of that match. But
I
yeah, I
can I say
think Blip
something?
pretty decisively won this match. But Yeah, I think it was an interesting idea to try out, at least for this one, for Blip configuration wise, but I bet this is probably the last time we're gonna see that configuration. So, but yeah, and
Nice.
the other theory I also had is it's also possible that I added that because it's extra weight on the front, so it might make it harder for Blip to like hop around on when it flips, like what we saw like last season, for example, where basically like when it tried to flip somebody, like it'd pop its front up into the air and possibly possibly leave itself like exposed when attacking an opponent. That's kind of my other theory, but once again, we don't know the answer to that for sure. So, yeah, we'd have to hear that directly from the Blip team, or it seems reasonable robotics. I don't know if they got plans to do a recap video on this fight or not, but if they do that, hopefully we'll get to hopefully we'll get to hear what the purpose of that thing was exactly, because I'm interested in hearing what was the idea behind it. But yeah,
Nice
regardless, I
speak
think
now.
Blip definitely won the match and definitely earned that win. Definitely earned the 2-2 record. So yeah, as for next opponents, Banshee sadly did not make the top 32 bracket at 1-3. Hopefully, we'll get to see Banshee in champions or exhibition matches or both because yeah, I'm interested in seeing can David Small like get the flipper issues he's been having figured out because it looks like those flipper problems are still popping up for Banshee. And then Blip on the other hand, I need to pull it. I need to react to it.
25.
Uh, Blip as the 25 seed is taking on the 8-seeded Sawblaze for this one. So the opponents are not getting any easier for Blip here, as he's gotten another vicious opponent. What are our thoughts on that matchup?
Okay, can I just quickly just say something that just popped into my head like
Go for it.
5 minutes ago?
What's up?
What if, like, so I can't tell from this image, so I could be completely wrong on this. What if it's to maybe prevent Banshee's flipper from accidentally getting inside of Blip's flipper? Like, such as, like, because because Blips isn't fully on the ground, like, unlike bots like Banshee and Hydra. So their flipper has like probably has like I think it has like a very small opening at the bottom, like very small, like millimeters. But so maybe Banshee they wanted to prevent Banshee from getting in that little piece. I could be completely wrong. I sound like a crazy man because I am, but that could be it.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, no, Blip's gonna die in their next fight. I,
All right. What you got, Darren, on
man,
this one?
Sawblaze is probably gonna win. They'll get around to the side, or just get under Blip and just push it around. 3 minutes probably, because Blip is pretty tough. The end.
Yeah, I think that's a fight that'll go to the judges probably. But I also have Sawblaze winning that one. Blip's gonna need to get all the gremlins figured out within that thing, because definitely like even though their ground game has been relatively solid, combination of getting their flipper underneath opponents. Plus, I think Blip's ground game was slowly getting crippled, at least in this fight with Banshee, and they're up against like a whole nother level of ground game type opponent because Sawblaze is one of the best at getting underneath an opponent. And yeah, I bet Blip gets a flip or two on Sawblaze here, but I think eventually Sawblaze is gonna get the scoop up they need and just start dropping that hammer saw and gonna win the fight that way. Yeah, I think this will be a Sawblaze win by judge's decision. But yeah. Anything else, or should we move on to fight number three? Fight number three it is. All right, so fight number three, Death Roll and Monsoon, Battle of International Vertical Spinners, two of the deadliest verts and two verts that I'm glad we got to see back this season. Uh, yeah, Death Roll in a safer spot to make bracket right now, currently sitting at 2-1 with those victories over Switchback and Mammoth, and then Monsoon on the other hand, sitting at a 1-2, but a good 1-2 record in my opinion. yeah, got that victory over Horizon, but two very good losses to Black Dragon and Whiplash, in my opinion. But so now these two verts clash, two different styles, and we got the outcome at least I was expecting. But yeah, I'll go ahead and leave the floor to you two.
Right. This was a pretty quick fight, but decisive, I suppose. Actually, hold on. Yeah, Monsoon came out, hit Defrel, and just crimped its drive, and that was kind of that. Oh.
Okay. So what happened with Death Roll's drive is that according to Money, uh, so it was kind of like a tantrum witch doctor situation where Monsoon hit the what's I forgot what it's called, but the like the bottom pan sheet thing of Death Roll and bent it so that way part of Death Roll's drive wasn't actually part of the Death Roll's wheels weren't actually able to touch the floor, so they physically could not drive properly.
That makes sense. Got it.
So technically, Death Roll still hasn't lost by electronic knockout in the Discovery era. I don't know. I think they lost by damage and Shred.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that was ABC era.
Yeah, I said
Unless if you count
yeah.
when they premiered those episodes on Discovery Channel before the 2018 season came out.
Wait, what?
Like a year or so before the 2018 season came out,
Oh
when
yeah. That's when I actually
Battlebots was
got into
announced to be
Battle.
taking over by Discovery, they showed off the episodes from the 2015-2016 season. So
I don't know. I don't think you should count those because well they're ABC episodes technically.
I don't know.
But if you want to count it, go ahead. Your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this wasn't a terrible fight. I feel like I was personally disappointed because I was expecting a 3 minute brawl, but oh well.
Yeah.
No, wait, actually, the next fight's more disappointing. Never mind.
In my opinion here, yeah, this fight was definitely quicker and more one-sided than I was expecting too. Because I was expecting we were going to see a little bit of action from Death Rule, a little bit more action from Death Rule's vertical spinner, and we were going to see it last a little bit longer. But yeah, Death Rule's kind of shown that the design probably needs some improvements to it. Nothing against the Death Rule team. It's just I think the amount this sport has evolved has kind of caught up to what we saw in Death Roll's 2019 run, at least, because both times they fought vicious ground game vertical spinners, we saw them just quickly KO'd right there. That was the case with Cobalt, and that was the case here with Monsoon, right there. Uh, what you got, Derin?
Nothing. If I misheard you, I thought you were talking about their 2019 run. They never really faced a ground hugging vert.
Uh,
I mean, Yeti.
Technically, Witch Doctor. Endgame maybe, but they
I'd
beat
say
Endgame. So
Minotaur. I'd
Endgame
say
definitely.
Minotaur as well. Oh,
if
but
they meet, they beat
Endgame definitely
Minotaur.
Endgame.
oh yeah, Endgame for sure. Even though
They
Deathloop won
beat
that by
Endgame though.
outlast, even though he won
They beat
that
Endgame,
they won
yeah.
that one by outlasting Endgame, but yeah, like definitely like I think the fight with Cobalt and the in this fight with Monsoon's just showing that like while we love to see while we love to see the reach game and seeing how they counter the ground game at least those fights just haven't been going well for them and yeah, we just haven't seen the durability Death Roll that compared to what we saw in 2019 basically, which is unfortunate because I was also hoping to see and was predicting we were going to get a 3 minute brawl between these two robots, which unfortunately didn't happen here. But bravo to Monsoon though, because Tom Brewster drove this fight very well in this one. Knocked Death Roll off balance, didn't let up, and got the quick KO. Definitely a quality victory like what they needed for this one. So, uh, Yeah, both robots sit 2-2. Both of them made bracket. Let's talk about their next matchups. We've already talked about Monsoon and Cobalt, so we'll just stick with just Death Roll and Hydra, where Death Roll was given the 29 seed, and they're taking on the four
Oh
seeded
god.
Hydra, and they're taking on the 4 seeded Hydra. So another big time
Oh
ground
my
game
god.
opponent. So, but it's a flipper instead of a vertical spinner this time. So,
Can I?
yeah.
Well, Death
What
Roll's
are
Okay.
what are our
doomed.
thoughts on this matchup?
Unlike what Derin said, I don't actually think Death Row's doomed. Because Hydra has one issue that Death Row can exploit because it's a reach for it. And that's Hydra does not have any. Hydra has very, very bad armor. So I feel like Death Row could win. I don't think they're going to. I want them to win. But they could. It's not. It's like it's not out of the realm of possibility that Death Row wins. But I think Hydra wins. Maybe, possibly.
What's your pick, Darren?
I'm gonna say Hydra probably is gonna win unless Death Roll can drive around them and hit them from the sides or something.
Can I
But
quickly just say something real quick?
What's up?
I think Death Row actually has enough reach to actually hit Hydra's armor in the front head on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because like what I'm about to share right here is yeah. I think they definitely have the reach to where I think they can like graze Hydra a little bit before Hydra gets the
Yeah,
flip. I think we'd probably see something like what we saw with Witch Doctor and Hydra when they would clash head on like that. Because Witch Doctor did draw some sparks and landed
yeah.
some glancing blows to Hydra before it gets flipped, but yeah, kind of like what Darren said, I think Death Roll's only shot of winning this is if they can outdrive Jake Ewert and get some hits on the sides of the backside. Because I don't think hits to the front are gonna KO Hydra unless a Jake Ewert really screws up with his driving and sends the flipper
Of
right
course.
into that vertical spinner right there. Uh, but
I
then of
mean,
course they have to actually get to the sides of Hydra, which Jake Ewert has done a very good job of not allowing
hmm,
that to happen. He's done such a phenomenal job of just keeping that front towards his opponents. And what I think we're going to see here, I think we're going to see a flip fest from Hydra in this one. I have Hydra winning this
yeah,
by
for question
judge's
on Hydra
decision
can
and
die.
advancing to the next round. So
Can I wait? Actually, what configuration do you think Jake's going to use? Do you think they're going to use the normal config or the config to use for Tantrum?
Uh, I for sure bet they're gonna go with ground game at least. I don't think they're gonna. I don't know if
I
they'd go with piano keys at least,
I feel like
but
piano
they
keys would be
might, cause
better
like
for this
yeah, cause like
because
this
Tetra was
is
one of the spots that lacked ground game.
yeah, exactly, like what I was about to say. Like this is a fight where I could see Hydra going with the piano keys set up, just because Death Roll's not a ground game robot. So, but we'll see. We'll see that episode in 2 weeks, and we're featuring that fight. So. Well, week and a
Yep,
half
yeah,
maybe, but
where Hydra loses.
yeah. But let's move on to the next fight.
Oh no, not the disappointment.
Okay, so Tantrum and
woo!
Whiplash, battle between two robots who are not in the position I think either of us were really expecting them to be in. Both robots are sitting at 1-2 right now. Tantrum with that lone victory over Hydra, Whiplash with that lone victory over Monsoon. So both of them are in a must-win situation. The winner was for sure going to make bracket. The losing robot was going to be kind of like a maybe, basically, as for whether they were going to make bracket or not, basically. And yeah, like this one was. I think I was on point with saying this was probably going to be a driving war here, but this did not go the full 3 minutes like what I was expecting. So, and yeah, so I'll just leave the floor to you two.
Yeah,
God damn it,
this
Tantrum.
is pretty. I'm honestly kind of happy with this because I like seeing the champ just. I like seeing. I think we're definitely gonna see a new champ this season. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope for. Yeah, this is pretty good. Quick but good fight, I think. Sorry, Whiplash just flipped Tantrum over within the first seconds of the fight. After like after about a minute, I should say. Tantrum did get like one decent-ish hit in before Whiplash just flipped it over and left it to die. I like how they actually raised their arm up and near their back just in case Tantrum tried anything. Very smart move right there. But yeah, quick KO of the champion who is 1-3, which wow. And Whiplash goes to 2-2 and managed to save their season. Continue.
I kind of want to rebound on that at least for what you said about Whiplash holding its spinner up if Tantrum was to move because like that's all I credit Matt Vasquez so much for that because like based on where Tantrum was positioned at that time, if Tantrum was to self right and then Whiplash drops the spinner right there, that's like a shot on the backside where Tantrum's like most exposed. So it was pretty well positioning by Whiplash. So uh, Blaze, go right
Yeah.
ahead.
All right. So personally, like, I mean, yes, we're probably gonna see a new champion, considering the fact that the Tantrum fight's endgame. But another thing is that this fight was. I mean, I'm happy that Whiplash won because one of my favorite bots. But it's also kind of depressing to see Tantrum, who went undefeated all the way until their endgame fight in the Golden Bolt tournament, just to go 1-3. It's kind of sad. But hey, they won the most important fight at least. So
Fair. Yeah, my takes on this. Pretty decent driving battle. Looks like Tantrum was getting some of the early hits in, but then as soon as Matt Vasquez managed to rebound, managed to get that flip in, and Tantrum started having self-rider issues once again. It sounds like from what they said after the fight, there was a chain that prevented their self-rider from functioning this time and working out for them. Uh, yeah, Tantrum's definitely gonna need to get the self-rider worked out because like this is two of their fights so far have been losses because they weren't able to self-right. That was the case in the Minotaur fight, and that's now the case with this one. So yeah, hopefully Tantrum has those gremlins sorted out for when they take on round 3 with Endgame for the bracket,
oh
and
god,
then with Whiplash, this was a pretty solid decisive victory on their part. Definitely not as high quality in my opinion as what we saw in the Monsoon fight, but they did what they needed to get the job done and get the victory. So Matt Vasquez on point once again. So let's talk about their next matchups then. Tantrum managed to squeak into the bracket, the 26th seed, and are taking on the 7 seeded Endgame. Whiplash, on the other hand, was seeded 20, where they are taking on the 13 seeded Beta for their next matchup. What are our thoughts on those two matchups?
Endgame, if
oh
they don't
god.
fuck this up, will probably win again. If they keep consistently and use the forks and don't try anything fancy and just stay squared up and try and get around to the sides, they should be fine. Whiplash Beta, that's a bit different. It really depends on. It's going to be a driving battle between two really good drivers, and it really depends. I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty tough one to call. I mean, Whiplash will probably maybe take it, have an edge with the lifter, but I don't know. It's a tough. I can't really call that one.
I all right. Hear me out. I don't think Vito Whiplash is all that tough because John Reed's going to have a lot more pressure on him compared to Matty Vasquez, just because of how their bots are designed. The because Whiplash has ground game, Vito doesn't really have ground game, and I feel like Whiplash's ground game would beat Vita's wedge. Now, granted, they only can win if Vita can only win if they use the wedge. They are not winning if they use the boat config. Oh god, that's a terrible configuration. Um, and Endgame versus Tantrum, we've seen this before. Endgame it's probably gonna go the same way. But it would be very funny if Tantrum won. So hey, I'm all for an upset.
All right, for Tantrum and Endgame, like as much as I would love to see Tantrum like start to even up the score a little bit, I think the inconsistencies we've seen with Tantrum and the fact that I think Endgame has superior ground game between the two is why I'm going Endgame on this one. I think Endgame will get another pretty decisive victory over Tantrum, but like Blaze said, I'd love to see the champ manage to pull it off. As for Whiplash and Vita, uh, I got Whiplash winning that one because, in my opinion, that's another match where I see that as a driving battle. Because I don't think either robot really has the knockout power to KO the other. So I will almost always choose Mag Vasquez in a driving match. I'm not sure what configuration Beta is going to go with for this one. I really could see them
Please don't be
using
the
either.
boat.
I really could see them use either one of the wedge or the boat configuration. I don't think the boat configuration exactly is a terrible configuration. I would consider it the next best configuration option if John Reed does not want to go with wedgelets, basically. And like I think that's the next best option if he doesn't want the wedgelets choice. So yeah, so as for that one, I bet Matty Vasquez outdrives John Reed, and I bet that lifter is going to be in just those forks in general are going to be very key to Whiplash's victory, and I think we're going to see a 3 minute control fest from Whiplash in that one. So yeah, I have Endgame and Whiplash moving on. So all right, let's talk about fight number 5 then, since I think that's all for that
Fight
one.
number 5.
This
Oh, this
one.
was. Yo!
Well, dang, Switchback actually can do something.
This is my
Yeah.
first
So
fight.
this one,
Spin's been hyping it up,
This
man.
one, Hijinks and Switchback, battle between Spin Doctor's two favorite robots that I know of, at least. I know they're two of his favorites,
Gemini.
uh, but yeah. So these two robots clashing it out, and both definitely in a must-win situation. I feel because Hijinks in a bit of a tougher spot right now with that 1-2 record right now, and that lone victory over Big Dill. But then Switchback on the other hand, in a bit of a safer spot, 2-1 record at the point, but probably one of the weaker 2-1s at the time, in my opinion. So I would also consider this a must-win fight for Switchback, just to for sure confirm their spot in the bracket here. And pretty much I'm going to summarize it here before I leave the floor to them. One robot did well, one robot did not so well,
I
unfortunately.
want to
So
start this.
go ahead and start,
I want to
Blaze.
start. Alright. So, Hijinks is a bird, right? And what do birds do? They fly. So what did Hijinks do in this fight? It flew. It also got its spinner decapitated, but like that's a minor setback. I I I mean, it was hilarious to see Spin, who has been hyping up Switchback for a while. Um, just actually like just for Switchback to just turn around and knock out Hijinks in a decisive manner, which is definitely probably the most impressive win that it's gotten in its career. I think, right? Yeah, probably.
The only one I'd maybe say matches that would be Lucky. So,
No, Lucky
but
was not
I'd
impressive
probably
because
say this
Lucky
one was
died.
I'd probably say this was the better win, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's the next closest in my opinion. So
Maybe. I mean, what are?
the
Yeah,
only other
probably after
the only
considering
other
Lucky's
victories
pedigree.
were Slammo and then the wins over Banshee and Ominous this season.
Yeah, that makes sense. But this is definitely the best victory.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. What you got in this fight, Derin?
Um, Switchback Malice
Or
or the
no,
fight in general?
this
Yes,
fight.
Switchback Malice,
Ah,
my
dang.
favorite
Switchback
fight that
hijinks.
happened.
Uh, hmm. Well, this is something. Switchback actually has power, or Hijinks is just really badly built. I'm not sure which.
Oh,
Yeah, Hijinks didn't stand a chance because of their spin up time, which they seem to kind of fix in this fight. It was actually spinning up pretty well, but it just Switchback was on them. It just, mm, yeah, this fight was over pretty quickly, and yeah, Also, a good demonstration of why the battle box is of how well built the battle box is that it was able to handle a hit from a 69-pound spinning mass of metal, spinning at very high speeds into the wall, and it didn't even seem to be damaged in any way. So great job there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Switchback, good for them. Great decisive win finally. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. That was a pretty statement victory, and definitely we got to see Switchback work a lot more like how it was supposed to in this one. I think Hijinks made some very key driving errors very early on in the match. It was like Hijinks was trying to get underneath the Switchback with the tail to allow their spinner to spin up, and Switchback evaded it pretty well because we saw them like move around the tail and then get some hits on the more exposed and vulnerable areas of hijinks. And yeah, they proved pretty well how much of a whooping that new spinner provides compared to what we saw from last season. So, uh, yeah, and then seeing hijinks' spinner fly like a helicopter is always fun. So, yeah, well done to Switchback with a decisive victory and for sure proving that they deserve a spot in the top 32. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a show they provide for us in their next battle, which we'll talk about next, where they got the 16 seed and they're going to take on the 17 seeded Malice for their next opponent. What are our thoughts on that matchup?
That's that's probably a switch. I think Switchback wins that, but I would be fine with either bot winning, honestly. But right now, I'm inclined to go Switchback.
What do you think, Darren?
Switchback Malice. I don't know. Like, um, I honestly can't really tell you who'd win that one. I really just don't
That's
know.
fair.
Yeah, I got nothing.
As for this one, my money is on Malice to win this one. What I kind of expect, I think Malice is
Damn.
probably gonna. I think, and that's not all out of bias too. My reasoning, which I'll explain more in my prediction podcast over the bracket.
Link in the description below.
Basically, basically, I expect Malice is probably gonna go with forks for this one and the drumstick weapon, like what we saw in I think all four of their matchups, minus the forks and the Valkyrie fight. And I expect Switchback's probably gonna go with a similar configuration to what we saw here. My reasoning for why I think Malice will win this one: Malice has the speed and maneuverability advantage in this one. And so I kind of expect Malice is either going to go head on to try to win the ground game against Switchback, which I think they have the advantage in if they come with forks for this fight. Or they might try to go for shots on like the sides or the backside or something on Switchback and try to avoid that egg beater as much as they possibly can. That's definitely a risky strategy, as we've seen like all season basically. Yeah, as we've seen opponents try to outmaneuver the other, and we've seen it hurt them more than it helped them, probably in most cases. But I think if Malice can pull it off and win the driving battle here, I think Malice will win this fight and move on to the next round. But like Darren said, like that's gonna be a close one and really could go either way. Because I will say this though, I think if these two do go weapon on weapon, I think Malice is gonna go flying in it. So. All right, I think that'll probably do it for this one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So
I
I'll
this
go
one,
first.
Battle
specifically
of the
did not pay
Alternates, and
attention
this
to it.
Battle of the Alternates, and this one's probably going to be a very quick discussion right here. It's double tap and slammo, and what I'm gonna say right here is we now get to watch Poor eat Burger King at some point.
I
True,
don't know what
we
that
do.
means.
Yeah, because
Now, you see, Pori, this is a good warning lesson. Rather than saying double tap winning two fights, you should have said if it makes bracket, like I did. So I don't actually have to eat Burger
well,
King.
Poiri's bet wasn't that it would win two fights. It's just that it has to beat somebody other than Doomba and Rusty, which it did here. It beat Slammo. So, uh,
Oh,
but
oh,
yeah,
sorry. I thought it would be two
Pori
fights. Sorry.
Pori
Forgot.
said he would he would eat Burger King on a podcast, on an episode review podcast with us at some point whenever he
What
makes
if
his
what
return to
if
the
Corey's
podcast.
just getting Burger King like right
What?
now, and that's why he's
Well,
not here yet?
it's gotta be on camera. So, but
He's just getting Burger King to
I
eat
don't
with
know.
to eat real quick.
Sure, but
Just taking him like 45 minutes.
But yeah, let's talk about this match then, rather than talking about Pori's loss in the double tap bet.
Yeah.
Base.
So who wants to go first? Okay, I guess I'll go first.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I did not pay attention to the fight while it was airing because I was busy talking with Corey because apparently there was a funny there he kept saying about this funny moment which turned out to be Penny Florian discussing wrestling like whatever like gambling statistics and stuff. But yeah, so I did not pay attention to the fight. All I know is that it was not very good.
You want to talk about it, Derin?
Yeah, okay, I was waiting for the finish. Yeah, this was depressing. I mean, double tap got swept up this full speed. I think got swept up the full speed, hit the ball, got grabbed. Slammo was unable to even lift it that high. It spun up again, hit them again. Got picked up. Well, attempted to be picked up again. But they kind of just drove around for a couple minutes while the Battlebots editors did what they did in Shredded Anonymous again and started advertising the next fight. And then they started doing like Kenny's prediction thing with the numbers, which I don't understand how that works at all. And I think they cut away from the fight for longer than the ominous Shredded Bro thing. This was longer than that. It was like a solid minute of them just trying to fill time from the, you know, madness of the fight, and then the fight finally ended. And the salt in the wound is that they didn't even properly announce the winner when they came back from commercial. They just had like Chris just say, "Oh yeah, Double Tap won that last fight." Anyway, moving to the final. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he win though.
So in my opinion, this is nothing against either team's builders, but personally, this is probably my least favorite fight of the season so far. I think we could have gotten a little bit more out of either robot here, and we just didn't see a good performance from either of them at least. Once again, nothing against the team, because I imagine if I was building a robot for a fight like this, I would perform a lot worse than that, kind of. Like, definitely these builders are a lot more, like, better at building these robots than I will ever be, and, like, well, as of right now, but my point still stands here that I may not have enjoyed this fight, but I know that I would do a lot worse if I was in their position, basically. So.
Yeah.
And then pretty much as for the fight going down, this one pretty much went how I expected it to, because I was expecting double tap was just gonna land like small hit after small hit on Slammo, and we were gonna see a 3-minute bout between these two. But I was hoping we'd see a lift or a suplex from Slammo in this one, but I don't know if the lifter was having issues or something, just because like they sure they were just not able to either get a proper hold on double tap or just be able to lift them in general, kind of. So kind of a bit of a disappointing fight in my opinion. I hope we'll get to see these two robots once again, whether it's in champions or an exhibition match, just because like we have seen some pretty entertaining bouts between lots of these alternate robots. It might not have been this fight, but we've definitely seen some quality stuff from lots of these alternates, and I hope we'll get to see lots of them get another shot at taking on like a robot from the top 50, whether it's in an exhibition or Golden Bolt fight. So yeah, I think
Can we
that'll
just
probably be
shout out Double Tap real quick?
sure.
Shout out to Double Tap for being one of 4 bots to have never lost a fight night fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't lost a fight night fight yet, so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and
Therefore, it's better. Therefore, it's just as good as Bite Force.
And also shout out to Double Tap for or for bringing us the soon to be entertainment of Pori eating Burger King on a podcast with us.
True.
So
It's gonna be so entertaining.
I don't think there's really much more to talk about. Yeah, I hope we'll get to see both these robots again, and especially like the horizontal spinner teeth that we haven't gotten to see on Double Tap so far, are because there's an interesting horizontal spinner concept within Double Tap that I don't think we've gotten the opportunity to see so far. Hopefully, we'll get to see it for like if Double Tap returns for that match. So anyway, I'd say let's go ahead and move on to the main event.
True. Anyways, so on to the main event. We had Minotaur versus Witch Doctor.
Yep.
This was a very good fight, honestly. I'm taking your spot, Green. Fuck you. Yeah, so personally, my takes on this is that it was definitely very close and could have easily have gone either way. But I personally think that I think Minotaur won this, but hey, I wouldn't complain if Witch Doctor won. Anyways, sorry, Green. Now back to regularly scheduled programming.
Derin, what's your thoughts on the fight?
This was pretty fucking awesome. Um, I'm sad Witch Doctor lost as a Florida man, but this was
Oh,
just good. A good fight overall. Like, they both never stopped trying to kill each other, even when both of their weapons were kind of down. They just kept at each other the entire time, never stopped giving up. Just amazing performance from both bots. It's just really close. Actually, pretty close, I think, but well deserved win for Minotaur. Witch Doctor at least is both of them were gonna get in, thankfully.
Yeah.
But just a good fight
yeah.
overall.
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
pretty much.
yeah, it was extremely close. Yeah, I mean, just the scorecards were 6-5 across the board for Minotaur, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Yep. Yeah, my takes on this match. Very good fight, very close fight. But what I'm gonna say here is, I wonder what would have happened here if Witch Doctor did not go with forks for this one. Because basically what we saw here was Minotaur getting a very early edge in the fight. Basically they popped Witch Doctor up in the air, thanks to the reach of that drum spinner connecting with wedgelets on Witch Doctor, and managed to get some shots on the sides and the underside and the front armor bits of Witch Doctor. But then basically what happened right after that, as soon as Witch Doctor's wedgelets got removed, we got to see a serious bounce back from Witch Doctor. Managed to land some huge hits on Minotaur, including I think they bent one of the side armor pieces in. Yeah, we then saw a pretty back and forth control battle after all that happened, and that ended up being the fight. So, uh, yeah, very close judge's decision overall. I did agree with the decision. I thought Minotaur won that fight, right? And that's not at all out of bias because Minotaur is my favorite robot. Damage was pretty well even between these two robots because a lot of people are talking about how a lot of people are talking about this decision. Like basically, they thought Minotaur because like I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. I've seen lots of complaints in the Facebook group that basically Witch Doctor should have won because Minotaur was crippled at the end of the fight and were having drive problems. While I would agree that you're right on that, basically what it looks like is like definitely both weapons were showing signs of damage, but Minotaur's drum spinner was not completely dead at the end of the fight because we saw it briefly start spinning up a little bit, like what we saw at the end of Malice and Valkyrie, where Malice spun up the weapon at the end to show that their weapon was not damaged. But then don't forget that Witch Doctor was seemed to be having drive problems at times as well, because there were multiple moments in that fight where Witch Doctor seemed to be having traction problems or drive on one side because they were crab walking for bits of that fight. So they definitely took a fair share of drive damage as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if Minotaur lost a motor at some point, at a point where they lost drive on one side, or if it's possible that big hit that they took from Witch Doctor at the beginning, near the middle of that fight, that on that side right there, possibly was jamming up that wheel. I don't know the answer to that, but Regardless, though, it was a very close fight, a very close judge's decision. I would have been happy either way, no matter who won that fight, because we got an awesome showing from this battle for the 1 seed, and yeah. So, shall we talk about their next opponents then? So yeah,
Oh boy.
Minotaur got the one.
Uh,
Minotaur got the 1 seed for this one, and they are taking on the 32 seed Fusion for this one. Witch Doctor got the 3 seed, and they're taking on the 30 seed Jackpot for this fight. So, what are our thoughts on this one?
Oh boy.
well, Minotaur Fusion. You think this is really gonna be a fight? Minotaur's just gonna hit Fusion a couple times, and Fusion's gonna explode like it should normally do. So easy win for them.
Fusion
Witch
win.
Doctor Fusion. I mean, sorry, Witch Doctor Jackpot. Yeah, easy
No,
win
Witch
for
Doctor
Witch
Fusion already
Doctor.
happened.
Witch Doctor's just gonna get around to the side, hit them, and win. Yeah, they're what. Yeah, I really think that's win that Jackpot fight.
Those overheading Witch Doctor. Anyways, here's my takes on this. I do agree with him, but I could see Jackpot and Fusion both pulling off the upset. I can actually see Fusion pulling it off more than Jackpot, mainly because of how. I mean, it would be funny, but I also see the fact that I don't. So, throughout the season, I feel like Fusion has been running. I think Fusion might actually lead with the horizontal this time, which very weird to think about. But and then Jackpot. I mean, Jackpot definitely has the ground game. I feel, unless Witchtalker uses Forks again, which I mean, I think they could. The only real thing that I feel like Witchtalker could lose, how Witchtalker could lose, is just not driving the way it, like maybe like Jackpot gets a lucky shot and the lucky shot disables the weapon. I don't know. I can't see the future. Wait, never mind. Anyways, Green, your
Alright, so
predictions.
my takes on these. I'm going to start with Minotaur and Fusion. I have Minotaur winning this, but I am a bit nervous about that matchup, though, because the question is, which Fusion are we going to see in this matchup? Are we going to see the Fusion that pretty well kicked the crap out of Emulsifier and had Witch Doctor on the ropes in that one? Or are we going to see the Fusion that definitely got killed pretty quickly against Huge and had another fusion like meltdown in the rotator fight. So I think if we see the fusion from the last 2 fights, Minotaur is going to win this one easily. I think if we see the fusion from the first 2 matchups, they could give Minotaur a serious run for their money in this matchup. Like, I definitely agree with Blaze. I think they're going to lead the horizontal spinner for this one because I think they'll have an easier time getting some more bite on Minotaur, kind of, and being able to land like a big damaging shot. Because, like, I think if they lead with the vertical spinner, I think Minotaur is just going to cripple the wedgelets, get underneath Fusion, and start attacking the underside at least. Uh, but basically, I think Minotaur wins this one regardless. But I think if we see the fusion that we saw in the first 2 matchups, I think this could be a lot closer of a fight than what a lot of people might imagine. As for Witch Doctor Jackpot, that's yeah. Basically, I always like to try to predict an upset early on, at least between a high seed and a low seed. This is a fight
Oh
I'm
boy.
going for. I am actually picking Jackpot to win this fight. So, my reasoning
Yes.
for this one. Basically, this is a battle of 2 vertical spinners who have some serious reach when it comes to their designs, basically. Because Witch Doctor typically goes for reach, but they might go with forks for a fight like this. Or Jackpot typically goes with forks, but they also have an insane amount of reach to those massive vertical spinners. As we saw, like Zach and Diane explained very well, at least before they fought Jackpot this season. So basically, I think whoever gets that first big hit, that first big damaging shot, at least, I think is going to come out on top in this one. And I personally believe that could go either direction between these two robots. I think Jackpot is easily capable of knocking Witch Doctor off balance and killing Witch Doctor as much as Witch Doctor is of killing Jackpot, like how Witch Doctor's killed their first three opponents. So I think Jackpot has a pretty decent shot at this one. I will admit that Witch Doctor is definitely the more durable robot and probably has the more powerful spinner between the two of them. But if Jackpot can get the upper hand early on in this match, I could absolutely see Jackpot pulling it off. And so I am going to predict Jackpot for this one. So, but I wouldn't be shocked if I'm wrong and getting made fun of for it this at the next episode
You
review.
will if you're wrong.
I really hope they don't win. I want Witch Doctor going as far as they can, because, yes.
But
Well, I mean, they're gonna lose in. They'll lose in the round of 16 to Lockjaw. So
Oof.
yeah, regardless, it
The
should be a
first time
fun
they
fight
fought.
either way, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what we're gonna get in the bracket. So
Oh, brother.
okay, so yeah, I got three questions that I'm gonna talk about here, basically that involve the bracket at least. One of them involving seedings, one of them involving basically like placement of the brackets, and was the last one
champion.
basically, I don't know why I said placement. Basically, who you thought should be in, who you thought shouldn't have been accepted. You kind of get the idea. So, all right. So let's go ahead and start talking about the bracket then. So, yeah, without talking about who we think should have been left in or out of the bracket, what's our opinion on how Battlebots did with organizing the bracket? Just
Oh my god, this is.
just in case if you two need some time to think about it, I'm gonna go first with all of these. So
I'm
so
just gonna pull it
in
up
my
on the.
opinion, at least referring to who BattleBots put in for the 32 robots, overall, I think BattleBots did a pretty good job of ranking these robots, and that's my opinion at least. You two can disagree as much as you want. I don't care. So, in my opinion, basically, I kind of have a good idea of where I feel each robot should be placed within the bracket, and basically, I think as long as they're within like 0 to 5 spots of where I think they should be placed at, I'm happy personally with whatever that is. Whether it's they're like 5 seats above or 5 seats below where I think they should be. I'm happy with that because like I know pretty well that BattleBots is a TV show and they're trying to set up fights that they believe are going to be great for TV, and we see a lot of those here in this bracket. But I think as long as Battlebots places them like in the right area, I believe. I think they'll do a good. I think they did a good job, and I'm happy with where most of these robots have been placed. There are a few I disagree with. I'll talk about that later, but overall, I think BattleBots did a pretty good job placing the robots for this bracket. So, uh, yeah, Blaze and
Alright.
Darren, you two want to go? At least I know some of you
Oh,
might
right.
disagree.
I'm
So,
gonna let
I
Blaze
have.
rant because I have really nothing to say.
okay.
Okay, let's see here. What placements? So,
Don't talk about who you think are gonna be over and under seeded, Blaze. We'll address that later.
what you said? You were talking. What the fuck do you want me to talk about? How they were how
How
they
you
were
think the
ranked?
bracket's organized? I guess I don't know. Just go ahead and talk, Blaze. If you want to talk about the
It's shit.
seedings, go for it.
All right. Well, can we just? I just want to point out the fact that Ribot, who's by the way has a worse seed and lost to Jackpot, is actually ranked higher than Jackpot for one. Um. So yeah, Ribot should probably be the 30th seed and just bump everyone up one. Um. Another issue that I have, I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but the fact that we get a few unnecessary rematches, like Endgame Tantrum, Riptide Shatter, Qualify for Mad Catter, and then, I mean, Block for Bloodsport, I'm okay with that because that was a pretty good fight the first time. Um, Another issue I have is that I don't think Hydra should be the 4 seed because they weren't they weren't that impressive this season, in my opinion. Personally, I had Ripperoni as the 4 seed because they beat Endgame and Copperhead. Which they're below both Endgame and Copperhead. Wow, this is the greatest bracket I've ever fucking seen. I mean, there are some bots that are in the right placements, like Minotaur, Riptide, Witch Doctor to an extent, Starways. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. I mean, majority of it's fine. There are just some parts that are very, very bad. Anyways, Darren, you want to talk about this?
Okay, I personally don't really care too much about who's placed where and who does what seed anyone. I personally don't care. I just like, hey, look, more robot fight equal yay. Looking at some of the matchups here, let me just see what pops out to me. We have Huge versus Scorpios. That's sorry, Scorpios. I really do not know what the fuck
Scorpios
they're supposed
have
to do to
trust.
Huge. Supposed to like put like the stupid sword on again and try and snipe a chain. They don't
Wait, real
belt.
quick here, can I just point out something?
Yeah,
The winner of Huge versus Scorpios will have their first bracket win ever.
Yeah.
based. Riptide. I am kind of happy because I remember with Riptide versus Shatter. I'm actually kind of intrigued to see that rematch because I remember in an AMA that the Shatter team did back last season when they said what they kind of made a point of telling everyone what they would do differently if they were to face Riptide again. Well, now they get to face Riptide again, so they actually have a rare opportunity to try something different because they know what happened before. Now they can change their strategy and like make an attachment specifically to defend against Riptide, and they actually have might have a shot of actually defeating them if they play their cards right. I genuinely think that it's quite an under something appreciated or something fight that not anyone's been really paying attention to. I think that one has a lot of upset potential right there, in my opinion. Where a title just come out swinging and kill them, but we'll see. We'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
That gives me a lot more hope for Shatter in that one, to be honest. Hearing you talk about that, because haven't heard about that. But keep going, Darren.
hold on. Let's see what else. Lockjaw, Bloodsport. We'll see if Bloodsport's learned and if their new blades can defeat Lockjaw. That's gonna be interesting. Clover Mad Catter's a rematch.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah,
champions
it
yeah.
is.
round 2 of the Gigabyte bracket.
Oh yeah, huh.
It's probably one of those
Lopez.
forgettable ones that you don't realize at first that it's a rematch, like Cobalt and Overhaul was.
I remember
Yeah,
Cobalt and
Cobalt
Overhaul.
Overhaul was.
I know some of us
I mean,
didn't
yeah,
though,
most
like
people
me
didn't
as
know
an
that.
example. So yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Uh,
Um.
yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I can't really think of anything.
Oh,
Yeah, I know at least
yo,
personally for me, a couple
the
matchups that pop out if I
prophecy.
did talk about those myself. I obviously Cobalt Monsoon, as I said on the podcast, as well as Sawblaze and Blip, at least earlier in this podcast. Two of the others that really stood out to me, Copperhead and Rotator over on that second quadrant. I think that's gonna be a great showdown. And same thing like in the fourth quadrant, Ripperoni and Black Dragon, even Quantum and Ribot as well. I think both those fights have potential to be awesome showdowns. And yeah,
Yeah, I think
so
the winner, no matter what, the fight after is going to be a great fight. I think as well.
so
Copperhead beat
Darren,
Endgame. The
Darren, this will be
prophecy.
Darren, this will be a question for you and I, since Blaze kind of already answered this one. Are there robots that we think are over and underseeded on this bracket? So I'll answer this one
I
right
don't know.
away. So uh,
I
it,
wouldn't know because I don't know how seating works and I don't know how to rate a
yeah,
robot really
I think they
goodly.
based on like what I believe what they kind of do it based on is combination of record, strength of schedule, and their quality of performance within their matchups. So
I've also,
so
I think they
basically
also do it on how well they think they're going to do as well.
common yeah possibly that as well. So basically in my opinion for seedings First of all, I think Death Roll and Jackpot are both underranked on this bracket, especially Jackpot. I think Jackpot should have been seated quite a bit higher than what they got, in my opinion. I thought they performed a bit better, and I think they should have been seated a bit higher. I think I would probably, I'd probably lower the ranks at Tantrum and Ribot a little bit, but those two I can kind of see at least their placement because they both had a couple of strong performances, even at that 1-3 record. Switchback, I think, is quite a bit underseeded or quite a bit overseeded. I think I probably would have put Switchback in the 20s somewhere. Uh, I can see maybe they use like I can see maybe that last fight, that dominant win over Hijinks, is what really propelled them. But I think Switchback was probably one of the weaker 3-1s just because those first two wins are kind of a little less impressive, at least to me. But I think Switchback did deserve to be on the bracket, but I probably would have had them in like the 20s somewhere, like the 22 to 25 area at least. But yeah, Darren, you got any stances on that, if any?
Really, I don't have much to say.
That's fine. So,
That's fair.
third question then, and this is one where I think there's going to be possibly some stronger opinions on this.
Oh
Who do you
yes,
think?
this
Who do you? Are there any robots that you think shouldn't have made bracket, and who are some
Shatter,
robots that you think should have made bracket?
Mammoth.
So I'm gonna share mine right off the bat
You already
here.
shared mine.
I think like a lot of people, I'm kind of also leaning towards that. I don't think Shatter should have been on the bracket personally. It sounds like the team was surprised based on a Reddit post that I saw. I'm guessing Darren and Blaze might have saw it too, but it sounds like from what they said, it was between Shatter and Emulsifier for that last spot, and it looks like they chose Shatter for a combination that I think they talked about how they felt Shatter was the more aggressive robot, and also that Shatter is a bit more. Battlebots wants a longer fight at least. I think they went with Shatter because I think they felt that having Shatter in the bracket would be better for TV purposes between the two Bots FC robots, but at least that's what I was kind of gathering from it. But I do, like, I personally disagree with Shatter being in the bracket here. But like, at least we got to hear reasoning from the team on this whole thing, and I also kind of am
Yeah.
semi think that even Ribot and Tantrum shouldn't have been on the bracket. Sure, those two have had some good have had like really strong schedules, at least in terms of strength of schedule and the quality of their opponents so far, and got a pretty solid win each way. But like, I think there are other robots that performed better than those two robots, and like, even though Tantrum and Ribot both have higher pedigrees, with Tantrum being the defending champ and Ribot being the 2 seed last season and getting in and making it far in the Golden Bolt tourney uh, last season, like, I'm not sure if I'd agree with them being in the bracket, but I find those two to be a little more understandable. Who I would put in instead? The three robots that come to mind are Mammoth,
Based.
Emulsifier, and Big Dill. So basically, if I took out a couple robots, it would be Tantrum, Ribot, and Shatter. I would put in Mammoth, Big Dill, and Emulsifier. So at least that's my
Is there
opinions.
any particular order that you would put them in?
Uh, I'd probably have I'd probably have Big Dill at the high seed between the three of them. I'd probably put Mammoth, then probably Emulsifier.
All right. All right. Here I'll do mine real quick. I mean, I agree with majority of your takes. I think Ribot and Shatter probably shouldn't have been in. I feel like you could also make an argument for Fusion not being in, but I mean, they still had a pretty good season. Tantrum, I feel like definitely deserved to make it in because they had a very rough season, and they also have a knockout against the number four seed Hydra. Personally, I would put in Triton, Mammoth, and Big Dill because Emulsifier kind of broke down in, I believe, but yeah, in two of its fights, which is not very good. It's not a very good look. I mean, so did Big Deal, but Big Deal at least like I don't think the two fights that Big Deal broke down in. I don't think it really. I don't think the other bot really had a chance before it was doing anything before Big Deal broke down. I could be misremembering. I probably am. And then Triton, just because I feel like Triton's probably the strongest 2-2 that didn't get in, except maybe Mammoth. But yeah, I would probably put Big Deal, Triton, Mammoth, which feels weird because I'm a Mammoth fan. But anyways,
You got any takes on it,
on to you,
Derin?
Derin.
I don't really have much of an opinion on who should have been in versus who should not have been in. That's a whole can of worms. I'm not even going to attempt to touch or open.
That's totally fine.
Um, I just kind of want to go back to what I was saying about the shatter thing.
Go
I
for it.
did I did some research and I finally found the comment that says this. That says, uh, they did an AMA last year. The shatter team did, and they said this. They were talking about in regards to the Riptide fight. In retrospect, I think if we fought them again, we'd use the Bite Force style wedges across the whole front. For next year, we're completely redoing the prong setup to be more similar to Sawblaze. Looking forward to seeing this fight, basically. Kind of want to just reiterate that.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Did I say any fights that I was looking forward to
I even
seeing?
linked it in the chat.
for sure.
Yeah, you did. Wait, can I really quickly just say some potential fights that I'm looking forward to seeing?
What's
Maybe
up?
Endgame Copperhead, Prophecy. Okay, I'm done.
All right, my last question is two-parter here. Who do you have in the final four, and who do you think is winning it all? So, I already did my prediction
Okay.
video on this.
Ooh.
In the final four, I have Minotaur and Hydra on the quadrant 1 and 4 side. On the quadrant 2 and 3 side, I have Endgame and Huge in there. That's my final four. I have Minotaur winning the whole thing, as expected. So,
Yeah, that's
I
fair. That's fair. I have mine already pulled up real quick. I can actually post it in the entire prediction in the chat here real quick. Uh, I have Minotaur, Whiplash, Hypershock, and Lockjaw, with Lockjaw and Minotaur fighting in the final, and I have Lockjaw winning the entire thing.
I'd be down for a Lockjaw giant nut. That'd be awesome.
Lockjaw honestly is one I would love to see. Just this, I feel like the story of Lockjaw winning the going 0-4 and then bouncing back and winning the entire thing would be amazing.
Yep. You got any thoughts,
What about you
Darren?
doing?
I haven't even done predictions for this at all. I haven't actually had
Just,
a chance to print up a bracket yet because I'm at college. Actually, I have to do that tomorrow, and I have to remember to do that tomorrow to actually go to my
that's fair.
student center and go print up a bracket. So I guess for now I'll say, let me look. It's fusion, and
Just do
it's
the
a
quick
switch
ones.
fusion, and then goes up, and maybe cobalt to Sablis. So going up here. So Sablis, Hydra there, Hydra. No idea there.
If you just want to share like who you think is
Here's
gonna win
okay.
the
I'll be
whole
honest.
thing, you can just share that.
I want Witch Doctor to win. Like go all the way and win because damn it, that team has been to the finals and gotten second place at like 3 different tournaments. For fuck's sake, I feel
Yeah,
so
three
bad for
different,
them.
but they've won one at least.
Yeah, the live
Rumors.
event where they fought twice and got the
Yeah,
giant
rumors.
bolt. But yeah, but I want to get they need to get a giant nut. That'd be
Lockjaw
cool.
needs to get another one.
Octa has
I'd
like
be down to see
87 or whatever.
Lockjaw or Witch Doctor win it all as well, even though I do have
That'd
Yeah,
be
Minotaur
cool. I
winning
mean,
it all.
if
honestly, I would be
yeah,
down with any of my top four winning.
Yeah. But
I don't know. I don't know.
that's totally fine if you need. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I think they'll probably do it for the summary of the bracket. I think regardless of our disagreements or anyone's disagreements on bracket placement or anything like that, I think we're going to be in for a real treat for these next 4 episodes. Yeah, because next time we're going to see this Thursday we're going to see the right side of the bracket, and then Thursday we're going to see the left side of the bracket, or the following
Wait, what?
Thursday.
Oh yeah, they're switching it up this year, aren't they?
Yep, they're starting with the two in the second and third quadrant for this Thursday, and then the following Thursday they're going to
Yeah,
do quadrants
they
one and
swapped it
four.
up
So
this year.
yeah, but
Yeah.
regardless, though, I think we're going to be in for a major treat because I think we got lots of great matchups on the way. We've already seen so many great showdowns in the qualifiers, and I think the best is yet to come. So all right, so I think that'll probably do it for this podcast. So thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe as usual. Check out Blaze and Darren's channel. Both of them will be linked down below, and all that fun stuff. So yeah. Once again,
Subscribe to Porinog.
sure, you can subscribe to Pori. That's pretty
And
base.
Porygon, who's uploading Robo Games videos.
Ooh, oh yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
have been seeing some of those videos slowly, but yeah,
Yeah.
comment down below some of your opinions, at least on the bracket, and who you think is going to end up hoisting that giant nut at the end of the season. You've heard from the three of us who we think is going to win the whole thing, and yeah. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.